Hey guys, Salty here. I wanted to just put together a bit of a video today where I can show you guys a bit about my working space and what I've got going on here. My working space is effectively my apartment. As much as I would love a studio space, much like Mike, I work where I live. And I just thought I'd give you a bit of a look over what I've got going on, what kind of gear I'm using at the moment, the sort of pens and stuff that I've been using lately. A lot of it you would have seen on some of the toe hider stuff. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that I had a real massively failed crack at doing Drawloween and Inktober this year, just in October there. One of these years I'll stick to it for 30 days or 31 days. But this year wasn't the year. Things just sort of fell away for me. I do like those sort of prompted art challenges. I just find that other things keep me busy or take me away from doing it. Although when I was doing it, I found that it became a cool little thing for me to do at night. So I was doing it right before I went to bed. And it became almost like a nighttime meditation for me, and it was a lot of fun. And I've actually I started filling this book. It's like just a brown book that I found, and it was getting to be quite a cool little book full of various ink washy bits and pieces that were a lot of fun to do. But again, I didn't stick with it, and I should have. Let's have a look at some of the stuff that I'm using currently. You would have seen a lot of work that I've been doing recently with these Pentel Aquash pens. They're a really nice synthetic brush pen that you basically fill with water, and you can use them for dipping straight into watercolor palettes. You can use them for filling with ink, which is what I do. I have some filled with ink and some filled with water that I use. So currently I have two that are filled with ink, and although they look exactly the same, one is a little bit more diluted than the other, so I've got kind of two shades of grey that I work with. These are really fun. I'll show you a couple of little bits and pieces here. Like I said, I think this is the less dark one. They're really nice for just laying down washes. And it's quite nice to use because you can, while you're washing down one color, if you can go back over and just layer, and it nicely adds some depth and different tones of grey. And you can actually get away with just using one of these if you've got the patience to sit and sort of work and let it dry, and then go back over and over and over. Unfortunately, patience gets away from me sometimes, and I don't. But that's the lighter one, and then the darker one I have is this color. So this is much darker, and I quite often use the dark one for filling wash backgrounds. Sorry, I'm not doing anything more creatively artistic looking with these, but you get the idea. And what you can do is you can also lay down with the actual ink, which I'll show you here. You lay down something, then if you get one that's just water, you can lay down what you want, and then you go, okay, I want it to sort of be washy under here. You get the plain water one, and it just lets you you can dilute that out and blend it quite nicely. Once it dries, it doesn't really blend, and these do get the paper quite wet, but it can lead to some really nice effects. And once you have that diluted color in the tip of this one, you can just go down and put it other places and use it until it runs out, which is quite cool. So for this one, all it needs is a bit of this one here, and darker in here. It's just a really sort of loose and nice, fast way to work with these pens. And I hadn't really, I hadn't played much with them until I started getting into watercoloring lately. And doing the watercolors is what really sort of made me want to experiment more with them and see what I could do, especially with ink. I love ink wash stuff. Two of my favorite artists, as you would have probably heard me bang on about at some point. One of them is Mike Mignola, the creator of Hellboy. And the other one is an artist called Duncan Fegredo. Both fantastic. Duncan Fegredo does a lot of really, really nice ink wash stuff, combining sort of traditional pen work and also this ink washy thing like what I'm doing here. So there you go. There's an idea of what I've been doing with this stuff. It's really, really nice. And you can, what's great about these synthetic brushes is that they keep a really nice fine tip. So you never sort of mash the tip out of shape. It's nice for a long, long time. The little art shop that I frequent in Footscray, West's Art Supplies, go check them out if you need art gear. Go there. They're an independent store. They're just brilliant. Their guy there is awesome. I went in and bought a whole stack of these, and he was like, "Oh, I've got the same one here at the desk that's been here for about 6 years. Like, these are going to last you forever." And then I told him that I was filling them with ink and doing all sorts of torturous stuff to them. And he understood. It was cool. So that's the Pentel Aquash pens. These are so much fun. If you like to do art, you like to mess around with stuff, definitely check them out. The other thing that I have been enjoying lately but not really using for art is this, which is made by Pilot. It's called a parallel pen. And I did use this on the latest Toe Hider cover. I'm not going to be able to get a good shot of this on here, but it's got this flat tipped nib, maybe here, which you can see. It's actually two separate sheets of metal together that are fed from an ink cartridge, and it's just got that sort of amazing tip for doing calligraphy stuff. And now look, I'm not by any means good at calligraphy or know what I'm doing. I like to muck around with it. I've done some sign writing courses, and I do like brush lettering. But these are just really cool for doing like that. You classic sort of see, I really have no idea what I'm doing with that sort of lettering, but it's really nice for getting that sort of offset angle kind of stuff. It's also quite cool. One thing that I love doing with this, and it's not any real style of writing that I can put my finger on to name, but it just looks awesome, is when you're doing these, it's going to take me a couple of times to do it here. When you're doing like these big swirls like that, but you lift off half of the pen and it gives you this super cool tight line, and then you press it down again and it just gives you these little hooks on the end. It's like just like a little flourishy ornamental thing. I love it. I'll just sit there and draw pages of just loops, just doing this over and over again, just to sort of experiment with different, what happens if I take that one off first and bring it around, bring it in. It's just so cool. So I wouldn't do much actual artwork with this, but I do want to try and do more lettering with it. I mentioned on my last video that I try and do as much lettering as I can, and I know Mike has this obsession with my handwriting in particular. Is that a bit weird? It's a bit weird, right? Where he loves when I write stuff. So I want to try and do more of it, and I would like to try and do more of it with this parallel pen. When I bought it, it came with black ink, and I've changed it out to a brown, which is super off-brand for me. I'm usually I just use black pens, black ink wash, dark. But when I bought it, I thought I'll try something different. Now, one of the liner pens that I use quite a lot for stuff is this, the Staedtler Stadler, pigment liners. Now the reason I use these is just ridiculous. The reason I started using these is because it's what Mike Mignola uses, and as sad as that may sound, it really sold the pens to me. But they're good. They're a liner. They have a nice tip. This is a 0.3. I do use these sometimes once I've done sort of the ink wash stuff. I'll go back in and do some lining, depending on what the piece is or what it calls for. Sometimes I wouldn't bother. Yeah, it really depends what it is I'm doing. Sometimes you just need to blacken up some lines and add some depth. But you know, otherwise it's just a really nice, robust tipped liner that's good for all this sort of stuff. Usually I'll pencil line and then go over with one of these. The pencils that I use are, it's partly rubbed off, but the Staedtler Mars Lumograph, which is, again, Mike Mignola uses them. Don't judge me. I figure if it's good enough for the master, it's good enough for the wannabe. I use a 2H usually for pencil lines. I use this because I find it easier to do nice light lines that erase easy. That's a big thing. As much as I love drawing with 2B and up to, like, you know, 6B pencils, sometimes the lines they create are just a little bit too hard to erase, especially if I'm doing work where I want to scan it. It's really important to try and that I get the grey lines out. I quite often use a blue pencil for lining, just because it's easier to just saturate the blues and then take all the blues out of a picture, which leaves with nice crisp black lines. But it's not always available. Another pen that I've really enjoyed using lately is I bought a Lamy. Let's not call it Lamy, let's call it Lamy Safari fountain pen, which is your bog standard. You buy them anywhere. Fountain pen. It's cool. It's also one that I've used. I used in some of my Inktober things because I discovered a lot of people online that travel and do sketches while they're on travels will use this fountain pen to like sketch streetscapes. And some of the drawings they do are just amazing and they look really, really nice. But they'll sit on a corner in a faraway place and they'll just sketch here's the little cafe that I went to, and down the back alley there, and there was a building over here, and this was here like this. But then they'll also take an aquash pen with them, and because the ink when it's wet is quite soluble, you can do these really nice washes, and it's a great fast way of working to get down the idea of a place. Next time I go overseas, I'm definitely taking a water pen and a Lamy fountain pen, just because I want to be able to sit somewhere. I have this desire to sit somewhere, maybe in Amsterdam, and because one thing you might know about me is that I love the Netherlands. I love Amsterdam, I love Rotterdam, and all of those places. And the houses in Amsterdam are one of my favourite things in the world. None of them are straight. All of them look like they're about to fall over, but the streetscapes are just magnificent. So I would like to go and maybe do some of this type of sketching over there with, it's a couple of simple tools. This, which, you buy the ink cartridges for, so it's never going to run out. And then this, all this thing needs is water. So that's it. Another thing that I quite often use is a Uni Posca pen for white when I want to do opaque white on stuff. This is probably not ready to go. Oh yeah, sometimes. Oh yeah, kind of is. So sometimes just to add little highlights into a piece, I'll use one of these. Usually more on illustrative stuff. If I need to get some highlights, or if I'm doing a scene where there's a lot of black but I want to have sort of atmosphere in it, like dust speckles, this is good for just going in and adding some background texture with little lines like that. Another thing that I haven't used for a while, but I thought I would just, for anyone out there who's interested in art, Daiso, the cheap shop with all the Japanese stuff in it, sell a brush pen, and they sell a whole bunch of them. But this one in particular has a really nice, small, and really firm tip. And I have done a lot of inking with this before. It gives you a really nice, you can get really nice fine lines out of it, but you can also kind of smash it down and get some nice widths, line widths. It's really, really nice. It's also, you can use it really good for doing some really small brush lettering. Like so. Because the tip is quite flexible. Anyway, that's a bit of a look into the stuff that I'm using at the moment. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. If you want to suggest that I check out any pens or bits and pieces, do let me know. I have 2 brush pens that I want to check out soon. I'm going to order them, and then I'll maybe do another one of these to look at how they go, and I'll do some artwork with them. I hope you've enjoyed this little bit of a insight into my work and where I work and what I work with. This is what I use mostly at the moment for doing traditional stuff on paper. I am almost exclusively illustrating on my iPad Pro at the moment. I've found nothing like it in terms of using a pen on a screen. I have a Wacom Pro, Cintiq Pro, which I've used maybe once. I just couldn't get used to sitting up here at my desk drawing on it. But the iPad Pro has just been amazing. The pencil is so natural and feels so good. Yeah, maybe I'll do a video on my iPad Pro as well, and the stuff that I do on there. Procreate is a great app. But yeah, until next time, or until you guys see me with Mike next time on a toe hider thing, thank you. Keep doing art. Do art. If you don't do art, anyone can do art. Just have to put something on a piece of paper. Thanks, guys. See you later.